Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Sarah. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. I talk about traveling the world, quitting your job, and I want to inspire you to follow your dreams. That is it. So with that said, today's topic, I want to talk about how I have been traveling the world on a shoestring budget. Basically, 1 year I spent less than $10,000. My average, what I normally travel around, is around $700 a month. So today I want to talk about how you too can travel for less than $700 a month, or at least less than $1,000 a month. So the first thing, choose destinations that are within your budget. Stick to Central America, South America, minus Chile, because Chile is actually very expensive, as well as Southeast Asia, and with the exception of Japan and South Korea, they are a bit more expensive. Southeast Asia, Central America, South America tend to be places, and Eastern Europe, but to be honest, I'm not sure if I would go to Eastern Europe right now just because the situation going on in the world. So pick places that are affordable within your budget. Do the research. There's something called Nomad List. I'll link it down below on how you can find out. You can also find by going on Hostel World and just picking a place and seeing how much it is for a bed in that country. You can also do Airbnb. And that is going to lead me into my next suggestion. Stay longer. So if you want to stay longer, go on Airbnb and see how long it's going to be for a month in a specific country of where you want to go. That'll give you kind of a rough idea of how expensive it is. With that said, housing is usually one of the most expensive things in travel. So I personally stay in a lot of hostels. I stay in mixed bed dorms, and yes, I am in my 40s and I still do it. And there are women out here traveling who also do it as well. I have stayed for anywhere from $4 to $20. And the $20 was in South Africa. So South Africa is also a very expensive destination. However, you can still do it. I still went, and I still stayed within budget. Barely, but I did. You can also work out deals with hostel owners and say, I'm going to stay for a month. Can you give me a discount or a deal? Or maybe another tip that I do, I volunteer. I stayed in Quito, Ecuador at a hostel, and I volunteered and taught yoga for a month. So then you can volunteer. So when you're in somewhere you like, maybe it's more expensive. Like, for example, when I was in Japan, I knew that it was a little bit more expensive. I got a really cheap flight there, so I thought, why not? Why not go and see what I can do? So as soon as I got there, I decided to volunteer. Volunteering, house sitting, working along the way are great ways to fund your trip. So personally for me, I do workaway.com, workaway.info. I'll link it down below, but a lot of people also do house sitter. Workaway is a volunteer exchange for room and board. Sometimes you get breakfast, sometimes you get all 3 meals. One time I volunteered and stayed somewhere for 2 months, and I had everything paid for. I spent less than $100 in 2 months, and that was only on things that I wanted, like chocolate, or things that they did not provide for me. Like if you're a smoker or a drinker, you will have to buy your own cigarettes and your own booze. I don't do either, so I just eat chocolate. So I spent maybe $50 in 2 months on a few chocolate or chips or something delicious and tasty, and it's usually 5 hours a day. Personally, I prefer volunteering because I travel solo and I like to meet other people while I'm traveling. If I don't want to meet other people, I will go into a hostel and do my own room or be a little bit more antisocial. But the travel world is pretty flexible. If you want to make friends, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. It's not like, even if you're volunteering, and so when I was in Japan, I was the only volunteer. So I'm the only volunteer a lot, so which is fine for me. I just hang out with the host or I do my own thing in town. But I still got in Japan 3 weeks. I volunteered at a ski lodge in summer, so no one was there. But I just did like basic things. I worked from 8 to 12. After that, I had free time, so I would go into town. I would go in the onsen, and at the time, I was working, which leads me into another tip: is work along the way. So I had a remote job when I first started traveling. That was to offset some of the costs that I knew I would have. Basically, the cost of flights, the cost of my school loans. So I wanted to have a little bit of an income to pay off that. So that was not cramping my style with what I had saved to spend on traveling. So now it is very popular to be a digital nomad. Everyone is working remote, so that is very easy. Also, when you're working remote, you do want to make sure the places you go have good Wi-Fi. For example, if you go to South Africa, you need to know that once or twice a week they shut down the Wi-Fi and shut down electricity for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, I can't remember, in a day, on that specific day. There are workspaces and co-work spaces that do not do that and have backup generators, but that is something that you need to know. So when you are working online, be aware of the time difference change, and can you volunteer and work online and house sit. I personally did all. I worked online and I volunteered. So not only was I making money, I was not spending any money, which is why I was able to eventually quit my job and work on what I'm doing now, which is writing and doing YouTube. So I have supplemented my income with writing right now, and that is paying the way. So I'm doing something I love, as well as living abroad and traveling. So I have figured out ways to kind of mesh all three together, whereas I don't touch my savings. So if you have a job, see if you can go abroad. Find out ways that, or if you don't like your job and you want to quit, like me, I quit my job because I did not want to be a nurse anymore, and you can teach English online. Or you can become a UX designer, and that is remote. You can do code. You can do so many different things that are specifically designed to work whenever you want. Or you can do freelance on Upwork if you're a writer, if you are an editor. There's so many different things that you can do, but a lot of times you don't realize this until you're on the road, and then you see other people like me doing it and you're like, well, how does she do it? Not fair. I want to do it. You just have to ask. So if you have questions, and I did a free ebook. If you like the free ebook, it tells you there's like a ton of things that you can do, work remotely. There are a ton of things on how to work away, do house sitting. It just gives you links to everything. And once you have, basically, is once you have the knowledge, then you can do it. The hardest part for anybody is that actually taking that step from here to there. It's that unknown zone that scares you from doing what you want to do. However, that unknown zone is easily figured out by asking questions. Like, drop me comments, ask me questions. I can tell you exactly what I did. I have told you exactly what I've done. It is up to you to go from here to there. And I just want to inspire you to take that leap, to take the jump, to follow whatever you want to do. If you want to quit your job, if you want to travel the world, if you want to take a career break, I just want you to follow what you want to do in this life, because we only have one life to live. So, okay, getting back on track. Another way to keep your budget very, very low is to slow travel. This is my absolute favorite. As you can tell, I've been slow traveling in Colombia almost a year. I mean, I kind of live here now. I have a visa. So if you want to travel more economical, live also where locals live. Don't stay in the tourist spots. Ask around where is a good place to live that is safe, because you always want to make sure you take safety into consideration. I live here in the mountains with my boyfriend, and I live where locals live, so we pay local prices. So that is keeping my budget way down. I mean, we have a house, we have a garden, we have everything that we need here. Also, transportation. When you're slow traveling, you have time to take the bus. The slower you travel, the more money you will save. So if I want to go somewhere, I will take the bus because it is cheaper. If I want to go to the coast, I will take the bus because it is cheaper. It might take me longer, but I also don't mind taking the bus. I actually hate to fly. So fly as little as possible and you will save more money. Unless you are in a country that the flights are just the same price as the bus, but you won't know that till you get to that country. So I never plan that far ahead. I plan one country at a time. I plan how I'm gonna get there, and then I plan where I'm gonna stay for the first night only. Because if you don't like that where you're at and then you booked a whole month, you're kind of screwed. So you can, because with a hostel, you can always say, oh, I want to stay one more night, one more night, one more night. And then if you decide you like it and you want to do a month, you could ask for a month, or if you want to do an Airbnb, but you know that you like the place. Because a lot of times is what people do is they will book their house sit and they will book their work away, and then they have to feel rushed and pressured to get there. So you're going to take the fastest way possible. You're going to fly, and you're going to take a flight that might cost you more money. It might cost you what you would save in a month, versus if you take it slow and you're more flexible, you can have the luxury of staying on budget, staying on, like, keep your goal in mind, what you want. So I will always wait till I get to the country to even find the workaway, because what if the area that I originally thought, like for example, I was in Japan and I was talking to somebody and I flew into Tokyo. When I flew into Tokyo, I realized the place that I was looking at going was gonna cost me like $500 to get there with the train, because Tokyo is so expensive. So I said, I'm sorry, I can't come because it's so far. Instead of what I would have done was find somewhere in the middle and then continue traveling down, and then say I can be there here and then find the workaway in between. Instead, is what I ended up doing is finding a whole different workaway that was closer, that cost me less money, and actually ended up having a great time because the town was little, there were onsens all over, and it ended up being better in the long run. And then I ended up only staying in Japan for a month because it was so expensive and I was ready to leave. My goal was to go to Thailand, so I had a plan. And plus, when I got to Japan, I didn't book my flight out. I always use a fake flight. You can do it. I'll link it below. It's one-way flight. Just to have it, it costs $20 because I didn't know when I was going to leave, and I wanted to find out how cheap and how expensive flights were to Thailand, to Vietnam, to another Asian country. So I didn't want to plan everything. So I just bought a fake one-way ticket, which saves. It's $20, but in the long run, it saved me a lot of headache of having to pre-plan everything out and being stressed. So you can do that. I ended up going to Thailand, which cost, I don't know, less than $60, and because I booked it through local airlines. So when you are in that area of the world and then you book your airline, it's going to be cheaper than you booking it from your home country. Just remember that. Also, when I went to Thailand, I could take a bus to Cambodia, so I didn't have to fly. Because when you fly, you have to think about the taxi from your place to the airport or the bus. But most of us aren't going to take the bus. We're going to take a taxi because we're worried. So the taxi is always going to cost more money. And then the taxi, so you have to factor in taxis on both ends versus a bus. A bus will drop you off in the middle of the town usually. Like when I went to Bangkok, I got dropped off exactly where I wanted to go because I took the bus. I didn't take the taxi because I had read online how easy the bus was. So if you do a little bit of planning on how to get places cheaper, it saves you a lot of time down the road. But if you just don't have time and you're stressed and you have everything booked out, it's not going to work. So when you slow travel, you have time to take the bus. Even though it's longer, it's cheaper. But I mean, why are you in a hurry? If your plan is to travel, why not travel with locals? Why not see what other people are doing? Why not take advantage and take a new way? That's always my thought, because I have actually taken the bus and been like, oh, I want to go there, I want to go there, I want to go there. If I would have took the taxi, he would have been like zipping around and I would have no idea, or not spoken to people on the bus. So you can speak to locals and ask them where you should go, what you should see. So that is the beauty also of learning a language when you're in another country. You can ask people, what is there to see here? And you can meet other travelers. So to recap, I'm telling you that you can do this for less than $700 a month. That is less than $10,000 a year. So when you read all these blogs saying you must have this amount of money to travel for the year, you don't. If you are resourceful, if you are flexible, if you are willing to travel slower, which if your goal is to travel as long as possible and create a life out of travel, you can do it if you want to. If you're willing to take that jump into the unknown, if you are willing to be more flexible on how you do it, if you're willing to take a remote job, teach English online, do a volunteer, do a workaway, do a house sitter, and just see where life takes you, instead of being in our heads. Because my first year I was so stressed and I had no idea, how am I going to make money? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And then all of a sudden, when I let go of that pressure, the external pressure I was putting on myself, it just kind of fell into place. I even was in Argentina the entire 2020, and I did volunteers there. I found a volunteer. I found a girl who was driving there, so we shared gas prices and we drove together. Now I have a friend. I went to another place and someone picked me up. The guy arranged for someone to pick me up, so I didn't have to pay for a flight there. And it just kind of worked out. You can do it, but you have to take the first step. You have to actually do the work. So there are tons of options. I was watching a YouTuber the other day who they were leaving somewhere, and basically it was because I'm assuming they ran out of money and the YouTube was not paying their bills. YouTube is the long game. This is very long. I've been doing this for 3 years. Not consistent. I just got consistent this year and I've seen growth. So you have to be willing to put in the work. I mean, these YouTubers who have thousands and millions of subscribers didn't get there overnight. So this is just like travel. Like, if that's your goal, is to travel forever, stay longer on the road, you will make it work if you're resourceful and if you take advice and if you listen to everything coming in and then you make the best decision for yourself. Because if someone just does it for you, then, I mean, also, what's the fun in that? Like, I've never had fun in someone planning everything for me. I don't like that. I like, if you want to plan, you plan your thing, and then I will show up when I'm ready. Because I know the best course of action for myself. And I know what I need to do to get there. I know how to take the leap from the known to the unknown because I've done it so many times. And that is really all it is because when you set your mind and you know what you want, it will happen. It might not happen how you think it will happen. Like, I didn't think, nothing happened how I thought. I thought I'd still be working online. I thought I would be doing all these different things, and yet here I am. But I just kind of follow my intuition and go with where life leads me, and I take cues and clues from the universe. And I listen to people. When someone says, hey, I did this, like when someone said, hey, I was a house sitter, I'm like, wow, I can stay somewhere without having to do much. I can just watch their dogs or their house or water their plants. I'm like, ooh, okay, keep that in the memory bank for next time. Or if I read about a really great workaway, for example, I met a friend in Thailand. She told me about this workaway in Cambodia. She connected me to the guy. And I didn't do it online. I did it straight through him. I stayed there for 3 weeks and it was really cool. It was a great experience, but I got it because I listened to her and she's like, yeah, it's cool, it's fun, it's this. So I did it and it was cool. I had a great time. And so it's just kind of like starting to learn to listen to your intuition and what's guiding you and why do you want to do this, and knowing why you're doing something is a huge, huge driving force, because then things will start opening up. Also, setting your goal, like setting your big goal, like I want to travel as long as possible, forever, living abroad. And why do I want to do it? But in the middle is going to be blurry, but you have to trust that it will show up as you keep moving forward. So I hope this helped. I don't know. I will drop my free ebook if you would like it. It's free. It kind of goes over the same situation, the same steps in more detail. I'm much better at writing than I am speaking, so you can also follow my blog where I talk about the same exact things I do here. But thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see y'all later. Ciao. Bye.